They say every church has a secret, and some secrets were never meant to be found. Behind the aging walls of St. Mary's Church, nestled deep in the forgotten countryside, stands an old stone well. It's been sealed shut for almost 100 years, a silent monument to a time most have tried to forget. But sometimes, when the night is utterly still and the world holds its breath, you can still hear a voice, a small, desperate voice calling from inside. Daniel was the caretaker at St. Mary's. For years, the solitude of the old church grounds had been his only companion. He knew every crooked headstone, every creaking floorboard, every shadow that danced in the moonlight. But one evening, as dusk settled like a shroud over the graveyard, he noticed something strange. The ground near the old well was damp, dark with moisture, even though it hadn't rained for days. A curious unease crept over him. He followed the faint trail of water, his lantern casting long, dancing shadows. That's when he heard it, a faint whisper, like the rustle of dry leaves, carrying on the wind, saying his name. Daniel. At first he dismissed it. The wind plays tricks in a place like this, a lonely graveyard filled with the whispers of the past. It had to be his imagination. But the sound persisted, a thread of a voice weaving through the silence. Drawn by a force he couldn't explain, he approached the well. Gnarled vines clung to its cold stone sides, as if trying to hold a secret in. He leaned closer, the candlelight from his lantern flickering precariously over the dark opening. And then he saw it. Something moved in the inky blackness below. A pale hand, its fingers long and thin, broke the surface of the water. It reached up, beckoning, as if begging to be pulled from its watery prison. A distant echoing scream, thin and watery, shot up from the depths. Daniel stumbled back, his heart hammering against his ribs. The lantern slipped from his grasp, falling to the ground and extinguishing its flame, plunging him into near-total darkness. And then he heard crying. A child's desolate sobs, echoing from the bottom of the well. He couldn't sleep. The image of that pale hand, the sound of that desperate crying, haunted his waking thoughts. The voice wouldn't stop calling his name, a constant pleading whisper in the back of his mind. He knew he had to go back. The next night, under a sliver of a moon, he returned, armed with a heavy rope and a flashlight. The fog was thicker now, a cold, wet blanket that muffled all sound and clung to his clothes. He tied one end of the rope securely to the gnarled trunk of an old oak tree and, taking a deep breath, began his descent into the darkness. Every scrape of his boots, every rattle of the old well stones, echoed back at him, distorted, as if someone else was climbing down there with him, just out of sight. Halfway down, the beam of his flashlight cut through the murky water, and he saw her. A small girl, her dark hair floating around her like a halo, her eyes wide open, her skin as pale as moonlight. She looked right at him, and she smiled. A small, sad smile. Then she whispered, her voice clear as a bell in the enclosed space, "Thank you for coming back." The local police arrived at dawn. They found his flashlight lying beside the well, its beam weak. They found the rope still tied to the tree, dangling into the black abyss. But Daniel was gone. The well was sealed again, not with stone this time, but with heavy iron chains, locked and bound, as if to hold back something more than just water. The story of the vanishing caretaker became another whispered legend in the village, another layer of mystery for St. Mary's Church. And now, on those quiet, windless nights, if you find yourself wandering through that old graveyard and you dare to listen closely, they say you'll hear two voices. One, a man's, calling desperately for help, and another, a child's, whispering softly, "Stay with me."